Good morning and welcome to Tennis Essence, where you will find daily content that includes essential tennis commentary. You will find essential tennis commentary. Well, it's the second best. To my mind, it's the second best essential commentary that you will find on YouTube on tennis. The first best, and I would like to give a shout out, are the folks over at Coffee Break Tennis, which I think is run by Matt Bradshaw. He has a partner, and they also do Crunch Time Tennis. But Coffee Break Tennis is the tennis commentary show, and that, to me, is probably the best at this point. I'm starting out. I'm a lover of tennis. I love the game of tennis, and I think that we need to comment more on tennis. We need to talk a little bit more about tennis. That's kind of what Bradshaw's doing, Coffee Break Tennis. Let's talk tennis. There's not a lot of video footage. It's not just a kind of a highlight compilation. But let me say, while I'm on this topic, that I'm so grateful for the people on YouTube, for the people that spend so much time creating content and highlights of matches and different themes and different ways to put together tennis footage. Thank you so much for that. I know it must take a lot of time, but I rely on you. I really do. I subscribe to your channels. And I'm going to be giving shouts out to others of these in a while. Tennisistic, I think is another one. Raz Oles. I'll get the names right, but there's a whole lot of them. I've subscribed to them all, and I want to talk more about them in the coming weeks. But this channel, Tennis Essence, is about tennis commentary. It's about tennis talk. I am not a professional tennis player. Obviously, I've played some tennis, and you'll probably be able to see that just in the way I talk about it. But I don't purport to be a professional tennis coach. But I'm interested in the psychological elements of the game of tennis and in the intellectual elements of the strategy, the things you can talk about and kind of articulate. Well, that's what we'll be doing here at Tennis Essence, and I hope to build this into something where we can have more of the interaction and commentary. But with that said, there are two pieces of news that I wanted to just mention today. I mean, one is that within the last, I think it's been 24 hours or so, there was some exhibition matches, just a tiny, what they call these little tiebreak that only go up to 10 points, tiny miniature exhibitions, in which Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal actually lost both of their little mini tiebreaks. Rafael Nadal lost to Thomas Berdych, who, to be quite frank, deserves it. He seems like a really nice guy. Berdych is always advancing. He's always losing to the Big Four. He's never been able to get past the Big Four in any substantial way, but he deserves it. He deserved that, and I hope he does well. I wish him the best going into the Australian Open. But Nadal did look to be in he had no reservations physically. So Nadal is a lot about the physical athleticism. You need that component with his type of game. You also need the psychological component, and he's very, very intense guy. So intense that his, to be quite honest, his personality is slightly off-putting because he's just so intense. He doesn't have that. He's not a casual guy. He's just so serious and intense. But, hey, that's worked for him. He took home 2 Grand Slams in 2017. But I don't think these two tiebreaks have any evidentiary value in terms of like predicting how Djokovic and Nadal are going to do. Djokovic lost to Leighton Hewitt, which was just kind of funny. But Djokovic is kind of the opposite of Nadal. He's kind of a similar type of game in a way, but certainly closer to Nadal than he is to Federer in terms of the style of his play. But Djokovic has always, I don't want to say always, but for a long time, he's just had this very interesting, laid-back kind of, he's got a casual kind of personality that he brings to the court that is kind of matched with this very intense tennis play. He can get intense as well, but so the other big piece of news is that we have some analysis of the Australian draw. And it looks like the upshot is that Roger Federer, the reigning champion, will have a very tough draw, and it's tougher than Nadal's side of the draw, if you ask me. Which shouldn't be the case because Nadal is the number one player, but I think they probably made it this way because, you know, it was probably nothing intentional, but it does sort of make sense. I mean, Federer is... I'm going to make a video about this in the next couple of days, but the preview is that you know, Federer is in fact the de facto number one player of the world. We're at a time in our history where the number one player in the world is ranked number two. Yeah, let that sink in, and that's the truth. The number one player in the world right now, it just happens to be ranked number two, and it shows that those ranking systems are all wrong. I mean, just by virtue of the fact that Nadal has not been able to beat Federer on all of the last 5 times that they've met. I mean, how can you rank Nadal above Federer in the light of a record like that? Well, you can't really, so it's silly. But here's who Roger Federer will have to dispose of. He'll have to dispose of Del Potro, Djokovic, Wawrinka, Zverev. He won't have to dispose of all of them. One of them will go out. He'll have to, but they're in his side of the draw. There's a exposure that he has to these people. Prior to the final, everything is sort of set up for a Federer-Nadal final. So Nadal has, you know, Dimitrov, Kyrgios, David Goffin apparently, and that'll be a difficult draw as well. But as it stands, Federer has a bit more of a difficult climb. But, and I'll post more on this later, he is up for the challenge. Federer is up for the challenge. He lost the U.S. Open. He stumbled a little bit. He had a great year in 2017, but he stumbled a little bit. He's got something to prove. I was talking the other day about having something to prove is very important psychologically coming into these tournaments, and I think Federer does have something to prove and will prove it. I was talking the other day about Djokovic working on these deep corner shots, well, which is kind of a staple Djokovic shot. Well, Roger Federer's got a response for that, and all of us who know Federer know what that response is, and in fact, it's dangerous to go deep into the corners with Roger Federer, isn't it? And for those of us who know him, we know that little flick. We know that, and it'll only work with a one-handed backhand when it's in the backhand corner. But he does it with forehands as well. He does these half volleys, so it's dangerous. So we'll see if he has to deal with Djokovic. But here's the reality: there is real competition. Federer's going to feel it, and Federer is going to have the fire to prove himself. He's got a lot of contenders to deal with, and I think it's going to be enough to piss him off, because we want Federer. We want Federer angry. We like him that way. In fact, it's the truth. When Federer gets a little pissed off, it's when he gets down that it's not good. When he gets a little like, kind of like. It's like the Nick Kyrgios thing, like, I'd rather be playing basketball. I think they all feel that way at some point, you know. Rather be doing, Jesus, because it's so much, it's so hard. Then you get behind little stupid things in matches, get you behind. I mean, these things come down sometimes to one error. You know, one error can make a break, can break serve, and that's it. The set can rise or fall on one point in these games. I mean, so it can be very frustrating. But if Federer is pissed off, if Federer is angry, angry is too much of a word. If Federer is just kind of pumped up and a little pissed off, that's exactly where we want him. He'll take the title, and that will happen. And that's what happened last year. That's what I'm hoping for this year. We need to get him pissed off. Hopefully in these earlier rounds he'll get pissed off. At the U.S. Open he got down. We need him to get pissed off. Talk soon. Bye.